Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and RFK Jr. must have the secret to cause senators to completely lose their minds, because that's exactly what Elizabeth Warren does here in this segment. Let's dive in.
Now, you just said that you want the American people to know you can't be bought, your decisions won't depend on how much money you could make in the future, you won't go to work for a drug company after you leave HHS, but you and I both know there's another way to make money. So, Mr. Kennedy, will you also agree that you won't take any compensation from any lawsuits against drug companies while you are secretary and for 4 years afterwards?
Well, I'll certainly commit to that while I'm secretary. But I do want to clarify something because you're making me sound like a shill. I put together that case. I did the Science Day presentation to the judge on that case to get it into court.
Mr. Kennedy,
hearing.
Mr. Kennedy, it's just a really simple question.
Yeah,
You've taken in $2.5 million. I want to know if you will commit right now that not only will you not go to work for drug companies, you won't go to work suing the drug companies and taking your rake out of that while you're secretary and for 4 years after. It's just...
I'll commit to not taking any fees from drug companies while I'm secretary.
No. I'm asking about fees from suing drug companies. Will you agree not to do that?
You're asking me to not sue drug companies,
no,
and I'm not going to agree to that,
drug
Senator.
Companies as much as you want.
I'm not going to agree to not sue drug companies or anybody.
So let's do a quick count here of how, as Secretary of HHS, if you get confirmed, you could influence every one of those lawsuits. Well, let me start the list. You could publish your anti-vaccine conspiracies, but this time on U.S. government letterhead, something a jury might be impressed by. You could appoint people to the CDC vaccine panel who share your anti-vax views and let them do your dirty work. You could tell the CDC vaccine panel to remove a particular vaccine from the vaccine schedule. You could remove vaccines from special compensation programs, which would open up manufacturers to mass torts. You could make more injuries eligible for compensation, even if there is no causal evidence. You could change vaccine court processes to make it easier to bring junk lawsuits. You could turn over FDA data to your friends at the law firm, and they could use it however it benefited them. You could change vaccine labeling. You could change vaccine information rules. You could change which claims are compensated in the vaccine injury compensation program. There's a lot of ways that you can influence those future lawsuits and pending lawsuits while you are Secretary of HHS. And I'm asking you to commit right now that you will not take a financial stake in every one of those lawsuits so that what you do as secretary will also benefit you financially down the line.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You and I, you have said
you're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
Look, no one should be fooled here. As Secretary of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country. And for all of his talk about follow the science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids, the bottom line is the same. Kennedy can kill off access to vaccines and make millions of dollars while he does it. Kids might die, but Robert Kennedy can keep cashing in.
Senator, I support vaccines. I support the childhood schedule. I will do that. The only thing I want is good science, and that's it.
Just now, you're starting to care about kids, Lizzie? All right, you just now started? Okay, maybe you should have cared about kids a little more when Alejandro Mayorkas knew that there were nearly 500,000 migrant children that had been lost to to Homeland Security. Okay? Maybe you should have started there with your outrage, and maybe then we'd buy it for a little bit. But no more. No more. This is grandstanding on a national scale, and it's absolutely disgusting. Okay? I have never been a fan of Elizabeth Warren. I used to think she was at least a level headed senator, but here, once again, we are seeing that time and time again that these Democrats get into these weird histrionics, that they cast these weird aspersions to say that, oh, RFK Jr. is going to benefit financially because, well, guess what? People that are probably deserving of lawsuits might actually have lawsuits brought against them. What? Who are you covering for, Lizzie? All right, who are you covering for? If you're covering for Big Pharma, congratulations, you're a shill. Okay? You are a shill, for just lack of a better word. And you're out here saying that RFK Jr. is going to benefit financially and therefore he's a shill? Give me a break, lady. Give me a break, and I'm not talking about a piece of a Kit Kat bar. This is absolutely asinine. This line of questioning is ridiculous because she did not care back when Biden was president. She did not care about this sort of stuff when Obama was president. Her selective outrage has only shown up in recent days, for lack of a better word. As a matter of fact, there is no lack of a better word. It's only been days since Donald Trump took office, and all of a sudden Elizabeth Warren is back on the national stage whining and moaning as if she's positioning herself to run for a higher office later on? Yeah, no, that's not going to happen, sweetheart. Okay? Lizzie, there's a better chance of you actually being related to a Cherokee Native American than you will have of ever being in the White House or having an executive job. Okay? It's really that simple. I've got more Cherokee in my bloodline than this woman ever can imagine. Okay? 1,024th% Cherokee Native. Trump was right when he called her Pocahontas. Okay? Because the movie, while it's beautifully animated, is just kind of garbage when you actually look at the history of it. Because ultimately, that's what she does. She fakes a mainstream narrative to make her look like she actually knows what she's talking about. When the reality is, RFK Jr. is out here to clean up the messes of past administrations and to make sure that we are getting the right kind of healthcare in America. And he keeps on pointing out just how much we have to pay for our healthcare system. It needs reform, and Elizabeth Warren is part of the problem. She looks at reform and says, well, we need more government. We're going to need more red tape. All that does is bury you, the viewer, in more healthcare costs. Maybe it's time to start opening up the healthcare industry to more competition. Maybe it's time to actually talk about actual tort reform, which, by the way, when Obamacare was being talked about, Phil Gingrey, my ex-representative, he retired, had a short bill basically entirely talking about tort reform. It was only a handful of pages long, and Nancy Pelosi refused to see it, and no wonder it never even made its way over to the Senate. And I can guarantee you Elizabeth Warren would have tore up that bill idea because it would have completely restructured the way we litigate here in the United States, and she doesn't want that because litigation is how so many Democrats make their money. They make their money by paying their lawyer friends to give them some kickbacks on ultimately what is a legitimate lawsuit, but because of the way things are tied up in the legal system, the way the law codes are enacted, well, guess who has the power of the pen here? And that would be the U.S. Senate. Elizabeth Warren, I think the lady doth protest too much. And maybe, just maybe, she should get out of the way and allow people with mind for actual reform to do their jobs, instead of asking about this pedantic nonsense about, oh, well, you promised not to make money in the private sector? Honey, what do you think Miss Granholm did? A former U.S. senator who was then caught red-handed still trading stocks. Turns out she actually did forget about an account, but the law's the law. Where are your standards, Lizzie? Where are they? Because I don't see them here. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And until then, y'all have a good one.